Wake up, get ready, time to shine, it's your day.
Henshaw. I'm a lead talent acquisition integrator and talent management integrator for Booz Allen. I support our CTO organization. So we're going to talk a little bit about leadership in 2025. So um, we all know 2025 has been a year of uncertainty in talent acquisition. Like the last several years have been a little bit of a year of uncertainty. So some of the things that you've probably been, experiencing, hopefully not all of these within, your own organization, potentially decreased hiring just because of the external, market, potential layoffs, role eliminations, reorgs. A lot of leaders have been asked to do more with less, pausing on initiatives that they've, had running for a little bit. Really an increase on, efficiency as companies are trying to tighten the belt and really pay attention to budgets, even, changes in goals and structure and workforce dynamics, and above all, stress. Like all of this stresses us out, our teams out. And so today we're going to, take a look a little bit about what TA leaders should really be focusing on. These are some of my thoughts. It may not fit in every single bucket for all of you, but it could give you additional things to at least start thinking about. So we're going to look at upskilling, your team, and more importantly yourself. A lot of time leaders really focus on their team so much that sometimes they don't think about themselves as well. We're going to look at succession planning, what really being like a true partner to your business. It's something we talk a lot about, like really being a consultant, to the business, but what does that mean, and some ideas around it. And then, being the leader that your team needs really in times of uncertainty. So from an upskilling standpoint. So when I look at the landscape that we have now, and keeping in mind that some organizations are going through downsizing or a slowness in hiring, really focusing on increasing your knowledge wider, not deeper. So I love having subject matter experts in specific areas, and recruiting teams can be sliced in a lot of different ways. You may have recruiters that focus on geographies, specific orgs within a business. It could just be a specific skill set. But as we look at this market right now and the ups and downs in the market, having a wider knowledge base can be really helpful. So, for example, if you only focus on full stack software engineering for your company, and the directive is kind of like, let's pause on this and really focus more on generative AI skill sets, you're going to find yourself like looking for more work. So having a wider, knowledge base and being more of like a role player that a leader can plug into to different areas is really helpful right now. So anytime there's uncertainty, having someone that can get slotted into multiple different roles is very helpful for leaders. So think about that when upskilling your team. More focus on impact projects. So I've been in the downfall of this where prior company went through like a big kind of hiring pause basically, and so all of those projects that we would have loved to get to if things weren't running a million miles an hour, all those came to the surface basically. Recruiting, we're always basically building the plane as it's taken off. So sometimes these projects come up, but I found that there was certain projects that really were high impact projects that, like, not just during a slow time or time of uncertainty, but for years to come, these projects would have a really big impact to the organization. There was other projects that people took on really just to kind of be busy, but like they just didn't have like a large impact for the organization. So my theory was focus on the projects that really do have an impact, because if you spread yourself too thin sometimes across multiple different things, and I know I get that this is counterintuitive to what I mentioned just above, of kind of knowledge going wider, but if you spread yourself a little too thin, um, you have some knowledge of a lot of different projects, but you don't have that ability to really like dive in and learn and push the ball forward. So I always like to focus on impact projects. We'll mention this in a little bit as well, but the impact projects also tend to, if they're going to make a big impact across a company, like you get more eyes on those, right? They funnel up to more senior leaders, which is always important to make sure your senior leaders know who you are and the impact that you're making on work. Other piece of upscaling is just utilizing free resources. Obviously, we have Hire Easy right here, free resource that everyone can attend this, webinar. But some of the best resources and things that I've learned the most from are just the people around me. And we can utilize YouTube and online resources and take courses and things like that. But some of the best information I've ever learned is putting time on calendars of people in adjacent orgs. Whether that's talent management, is it learning from your employee relations peers, your legal department, like the amount of knowledge that's held just in the people all around you is vast. And I've very rarely seen times where I've tried to put, time on someone's calendar to really like understand more, even the data and analytics teams that are that run the back end of your ATS or your CRM, like understanding how these things work, like that knowledge just sits all around you. You just have to raise your hand and ask questions and listen and absorb the knowledge that everyone else has. So utilize the people around you, especially if you do have more time because of maybe some lulls. Succession planning. So identify the future leaders and your high potential employees within your team. You don't have to manage people, to be a leader. I think every leader, if they look at their recruiting team, they know those key people in the team that everyone goes to for questions, or the people that they look to for like guidance, or how are they feeling? Like if they're stressed out or they're uncertain about things like that, that thought process will filter down into them. So you don't have to be a people manager to be a leader. I've always followed this kind of mindset of spend 80% of your time with the top 20% of your people, that upper echelon employees in your team. Not saying that you should completely disregard other people in your team. Everyone um, you know gets their time, but spend the 80% of your time with the top 20% people, because there's like I said, other people in your team that are going to go to them for guidance. So the more time you can spend with them to help set the tone, help create the culture of your team. One person doesn't create the culture of your team. It's a kind of collective effort. But those leaders on your team that everyone goes to for guidance, spend more time with them, because they're going to help kind of cascade your message and put people in the right frame of mind. um, Future leaders, have them work on like independent projects with minimal risk that you can let them kind of run with. And this is how I think about allocating work to others. If there's a project that, let's just say, it goes off the tracks and doesn't land as well as you thought, what's the risk to the team or the organization if that fails? Projects that do have minimal risk, where it's like, if it fails, it's not the end of the world. We can backtrack. We can course correct. Give the leaders on your team like that freedom and runway to go build something. Obviously, they're going to have check-ins with you, and you can give guidance, but remove any like micromanaging aspect to your leadership, and let them go build. You will be shocked at the value, and how well that they can put together, um, and run projects on their own. I've always been shocked at just like, man, they did something better than I could probably even do it. It also empowers them, like these are the leaders on your team. They're gonna be hungry to go prove their value. That's going to cascade out to the rest of the team as well. And then get people in front of your leaders. I mentioned this before. Like if you're working on projects and things like that, like if you have to present to a leadership group, once a month, bring one of your team members, one of the people in your team in to present, one little section of that. But get your people in front of the leaders of the organization to make sure that they know who they are, the value that they bring, to the organization. Because ultimately, when if an organization comes to the spot where they might need to downsize a little bit, it's going to be really important for those leaders who are ultimately making those decisions sometimes to know this is a really valuable asset to our organization. Um, Build the team of your future during the low times, and right now you look across TA, it's been impacted heavily over the last several years. I was always really shocked with some of the best recruiters I knew were looking for roles, and there's other people I knew that I was like, I don't think that they're better than this person looking for a job. Like, looking at the future, it is a great time to revamp your organization and make sure you have top, A+ players on your team. Being a partner to your business, give them what they need to make better business decisions. Like, ask those questions. Like, what would you need to sleep better at night, be able to make better business decisions down the road? Like, ask the questions, and then constantly be looking at that data, providing input, for them. Tell them what they're not thinking about. A prior company, they wanted to grow in their software engineering organization quite a bit, and so they said, "Hey, I'm going to use fake numbers, but we need to hire 1,200 people over the course of the year." You do the math. You're like, "Okay, that's 100 hires a month. Let's say it takes 4 interviews per offer accept. That's 400 interviews per month." We had a team of about 50 engineers that did all of our interviewing. You quickly do the math and say, can 50 engineers handle 8 interviews per week each? No, they can't. It's just not feasible. So getting in front of that and saying, in a month's time or 6 weeks time, we're really going to have a bottleneck here where we don't have the amount of bandwidth to interview all the candidates that recruiting is pushing through. Recruiter or leaders or business leaders are super smart, but they don't view things through the same lens as recruiting does. So stay close to your leaders, understand their strategy. It will definitely help you out quite a bit. I know we're coming up short on time. Just a few more things. There's different types of leadership styles: transformational leadership, servant leadership. I've myself practice servant leadership quite a bit. It's really like you are doing everything to serve the people in your team, grow them, foster that like supportive, collaborative environment. I think right now in 2025, we need to do a little of both. Like, transformational leadership is, doing what's right for the organization as well. And so we have to keep that in mind, because if we're not doing what's right for the organization, and the organization goes through a downturn, it affects everybody's employment. These are just kind of basic pieces to those leadership theories. The ones on the right are for servant leadership, but if there's areas that you want to like get better in, ask the people around you. Have people in your team do a skip level meeting with your manager. They're going to be more open to give feedback in terms of where you might be falling short and where you can actually build on these. I keep these things actually like up in front of me a lot, so before I go into team meetings and things like that, I look over them and kind of hold myself accountable for ways to make sure that I'm hitting on these. So final thoughts: spend time with your people, make it a priority. They are, the people under you makes the world go round. They are they build the culture of your team. One person with a really bad attitude or something like that can affect a lot. So spend time with your people, have those one-on-ones, like listen to them, be transparent, um, put your people in positions to tackle what they love and what they're really good at. When you have what they're good at and what they love and they go tackle that, the outcomes will always be much better than the reverse of that. And then the last thing is, just even though we're in these times of uncertainty, always do what's right for the people in your team and in their career, even if that means it'll make your job harder down the road by potentially like losing someone or putting someone in a new role. Always, put them first. The long-term aspect of that is you will have, dedicated and loyal, people around you that will always, look up to you and do what's right for you as well.